Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, I got a couple little projects to do around the house today. First thing is kind of a repeat of something that happened last summer. You may recall last summer it was an unusually warm summer, like a 3-month period where the temperature didn't drop below 100 the whole time. Well, during one of the hottest days of that period, my air conditioning went out, and I wasn't sure what it was, and I ended up calling a air conditioner guy to come in and look at the problem, and he latched onto the problem right away. He says that there's a little sensor in there that senses condensation, and if the condensation level builds up inside that sensor, it cuts the power to the air conditioner because it doesn't want you creating a flood or something like that. Well, he very quickly fixed it, and unfortunately he had to do a service call, so I had to pay for a couple $100 to get the guy to come out there. And so he said, let me at least give your air conditioning a tune-up. And so he did that and went on his way. And about a week ago, I was doing a live stream, and I'd gone from having heat on at the night to turning on the air conditioner within a very short period of time. And that created condensation. And later on in the day, when I tried to switch back to heat again, the air conditioner wouldn't come on, or the heater wouldn't come on. So I'm pretty sure that it's that little condensation thing. And I watched the guy do it last time, and it isn't really that hard to do. But I've been kind of putting off doing it for a few days now because it's kind of a pain to get at it. I got a whole bunch of stuff in that part of the garage, and I have to move that stuff all away. And what I've been doing is just kind of going with a backup, and let me show you what that is. My backup is this little space heater, and I've been using that for the last few days to kind of keep the living room area habitable, and this works pretty well. I was actually surprised because this thing is old. I've had this thing for 30 years probably, and probably hasn't been used much in the last 10 or 15. So I was a little leery about even turning it on, but I gave it a good blowout with the leaf blower just to get any dust and stuff off the heating element. And this thing has done a terrific job of keeping this house comfortable, or at least keeping the living room comfortable. And when I'm in the bedroom, I've got a thick blanket on the bed and electric blanket if I need that. So it hasn't been an emergency to deal with, but I wanted to get it done today because we have a cold front coming in, and it's been getting into the lower 40s, maybe upper 30s at night. Well, starting tomorrow about noon, we're supposed to have a cold front come in here, and the temperatures are going to plunge into the lower teens. So we're going to be well below freezing, and I want to get this problem resolved so I can have heat during that period. Now, I do have to admit, one thing that really kind of impresses me about this house, and I noticed it last summer too when the air conditioning went out, that this house is amazingly well insulated. From the point when the air conditioner went out last summer and when the heat went out this last week, the house stayed actually comfortable for about 3 days. And at that point, the temperature slowly dropped, but it went from 70 to 68 to 65, and it's down here about 50, or down to about 60 right now. And like I said, I can keep it comfortable with this, but that is one of the things that's blown me away about this house, is how good the insulation is. And that was something actually when they gave me the buyer's report when I bought this house. That was something they said. He's like, yeah, this place is insulated to the hilt, so you'll stay very, very warm in here in the winter, and very, very cool in here in the summer. And this little event has definitely driven home that point. So anyway, let's get out in the garage and let's fix this problem, get the heat going again. So now you can kind of see why this is a 30-second fix once you get into it, but 10 minutes to get into it, because I got to move all this stuff out of the way because the furnace is in that closet back there. So I'm going to move all this stuff out, and then we'll go from there. So got all the stuff out of the way, got the closet open, and this is the furnace here, and this is that little sensor I was telling you about. And this is the thing, like I said, the guy just took it off last time. It just unscrews. He opened up the bottom, dumped out all the water in there, closed it back up, and the system started right up. So I'm going to do that. Unfortunately, I need 2 hands with that, so I'll take the sensor apart and we'll show it to you once I get it off. Alright, so here's basically what's inside this thing. This is the sensor itself, and it just screws onto the side of this thing. But on the bottom of it, there's this little floater thing that goes in there. And if water builds up inside of it, this floats up to the top and it triggers the system to power down. And that's what happened. And when I opened it up, there was actually water in there. And it makes sense when you're switching back and forth between heat and cold in a very short period of time, you're going to generate condensation. So the second I realized this thing wasn't working, I knew exactly what had happened. And so there was water in there. We emptied it out. We get in there with I also got in there with a little wet dry vac and kind of vacuumed everything out of here, because this is part of the drain system of the for any condensation that builds up in there, and it goes into the back there and joins with a water heater and goes to a drain. But got that all dried up. We're going to put this thing back together, attach it back up again, and make sure we're working now. So I got the whole thing back together, tripped the breakers back on. When I started working with it, I turned the breaker off just to be safe. Let's go in now and see if the thermostat display is on, because that was the symptom that was common from before, that the display on the thermostat just wasn't getting power. And when this thing shuts down, that thing shuts down. So let's go make sure we're working. Yeah, we definitely got power on the thermostat, and actually I can hear the furnace winding up right now. So yeah, that was it. We got it. That's $200 I didn't just spend. That's a good idea. That's a good deal, right? All right, on to the second project, and that involves the swimming pool. Now, I did get a cover eventually and got it on there, and we're still kind of working a little bit with keeping the water under control. We rained a little bit and it's settling a little bit, but it's a lot easier to get the water off of this thing when it all kind of slopes out to this side. So this is definitely an improvement, but I got one little problem here, and that is in the weeks or so before I got the cover, once I had the stand out in the middle there was a delay until I got the cover, and during that time I lost control of the pool, and the pool turned green again. And part of that, I think, is because I was not thinking I needed to put that many chemicals in it because it was so cold, and partly because the pump and filtration system isn't working very well. As it turns out, I think the sand in this filter housing has basically gotten completely plugged up, and I had like zero water flow coming through the pump. So at some point this winter, I'm going to have to replace the sand in this filter, maybe replace the pump too. But for now, I want to deal with the water, because the water is gross. I got months now that I can deal with it, but like I said, the water's turned green, and I got to start working on that. So we can do that while the cover's on. What I'm going to go over to do today is I'm going to go over and get an algicide, and let's get that in there and kill off the algae. Then we can focus on clarifying the water and hopefully get it nice and clean, so by the time we're ready to use it next summer, it'll be ready. So that means a Home Depot trip, and since I'm already going to Home Depot, I'm going to get a new propane tank too. I keep 2 of these, one that I store in the garage and one for the barbecue, so that if I run out, I can just switch to the other one and keep going. But this one's empty now, and I got to take it and get it refilled. So since we're already going to Home Depot and that's where I get that, I'm going to get this done at the same time. Oh yeah, it's already starting to feel warm in here. Alright, so I have fired up the pool pump again. I put the filter into winterize mode, which I think just recirculates the water from the strainer basket here back into the pool without going through the filter, because I think the filter's all plugged up. Like I said, it's time to replace the sand on that. I probably should have done that the year I moved in, so it's overdue, and that's going to be a project that we're going to do this winter, I think, sometime, is take this thing apart and replace the sand. But the goal, the instructions specifically say you need to have the pump working, and that makes sense, because if there isn't if the pump isn't working, there isn't water being circulated around, and the water just basically stays in one stationary place. And if you pour the algicide in there, you're just going to have a cloud of algicide in one little section. When you have the pool pump running, it kind of tends to keep the water moving a little bit, and that circulates the algicide all over the place where it needs to be. Now, since the pump isn't working even at this point at 100%, I've got another water pump that I've put into the pool right now that I used even when the pool was in operation, just to kind of keep things moving in there. And I've added that, and that's going to make the water kind of spin in one direction also, and that should distribute the algicide throughout the pool over the next couple days or so. So the instructions say 16 ounces of algicide per every 10,000 gallons of water. Well, this pool is about almost 13,000 gallons, so I've got about 20 ounces, which is what I calculate it should be, and we're just going to pour this right in here. It's going to actually go in right over where the output of the air of the water pump is, and so that should basically start circulating everything all over the pool. And hopefully this will be step one of getting the algae under control. Once we kill off all the algae, then I'm going to have to do some clarification of the water in there, and that's another chemical, and we'll do that like maybe next week or sometime. And then I'm going to have to run the pool sweep in here a little bit, and the beauty of that is I can peel back little parts of the cover here and throw the pool sweep in, have it do its thing, and then move it to another section and do that. So this is the beginning of getting this thing under control, so hopefully come June we'll be able to use this again and won't be like swimming in a toxic waste dump. So there you go. I'll keep you up to date on what's going on this, and other than that, I think we're done for now. This is the end of this vlog. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.